There we go. Awesome. So welcome to Creating Resiliency through Music, Art, and Movement. And this is a combination of the talents of the three of us, Tanya, Colin, and myself, and taking neuro arts to a new place and bringing it forward. I wanted to take a photograph here, so if you guys can just hold 1 second. I wanted to see our expressions before we start, and then
Can you see Colin?
there we go. Yep, I can. I've got everybody.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't, because I have a different view. Okay.
Yep. Perfect. So just so we have our expressions at the beginning, and then I don't know what'll transpire at the end, but it's a great place to start. So, all right, go for it, Tanya.
Enter. Okay. So I just wanted to share this quote from Michelangelo. Faith in oneself is the best and safest course. And our ability to create bioenergetic wellness out of trauma and lived experience is a testament to the resiliency of our spirit and our desire to live a loving and fulfilling life. And I believe, Michelle, that you were going to do Cook's Hookup here. And if anyone has tea or water or coffee, I invite you to take a sip. I personally have mental clarity. Mental clarity.
What have you got, Ruth?
I have Harvest Gold.
Perfect. Colin, what were you sipping on?
Queen Mary. It's a ship that's done a lot of journeys.
And Mary Jo, how about you? What have you got there today?
I'm taking in the peace.
Awesome. And I've got the Golden Serenity, which is the first one for the root chakra, the note of C, as we start the protocol today. And Cook's Hookups, I think we're all familiar, but I'll just repeat it for anybody that's listening that doesn't. You're going to cross your right foot over your left, and then you're going to cross your hands across, and then just turn them so the palms face each other, and you can link your fingers. You can bring it in close, you can put it down in your lap, and if that isn't comfortable, you can put your fingertips just across so that your fingertips are on your collarbone. And we're just going to hang out there while we do the next part.
So I would like to welcome Michelle, who has taught me many, many, many things over the years. I first met her in 2012 in a Tai Chi class where she was teaching bioenergetic wellness strategies. And she is a great resource as a touch for health instructor, a therapeutic touch registered practitioner. She's skilled in neuroflex integration, dance, Tai Chi, and she's also now a wonderful tea artist. I'd like to welcome Colin McLeod from across the water, who's a performing artist on fiddle, also an accountant, an intuitive musical artist, and an online educator. And myself, I'm a practicing counselor, certified as a social worker. I'm also an artist, and you'll see my art on all the pieces that we share today. I'm a photographer, a poet, an author, and I'm also a dabbling herbalist. Right.
We'll get that yet. So Michelle, I see that you've just arrived, and Patty, and so welcome. We actually chatted for a few minutes at the start, so we are just getting started, so you haven't really missed too much. We were just introducing ourselves here, and so we have that. Thank you. Perfect. And we're actually just holding our We were just crossing our right foot over our left and our hands across and linking in what's called Cook's Hookups. We were just doing that first bit. And so now we're just going to move into what our objectives are for today. And this moves us to Cook's Hookups Part 2. So what we're going to do is put our feet side by side, put our fingertips together, and then just place them in front of the belly button. And we wanted to just share with our objectives today, we're going to be applying the bioenergetic wellness formula, which is a result that came out of my dissertation work when I discovered that muscle monitoring was not the key piece for the work that we do, but several key pieces put together. And when we put them in process, we can have a much bigger shift for people and much longer lasting. We're also bringing in color and art and providing a way for people to have an intentional release. We're going to add music and movement to create forward momentum. So as we're talking about unwinding trauma and moving us into building resiliency, a lot of times we're stuck in the here and now and we can't seem to quite get forward. So we're going to use music and movement to make that happen today. We're going to check into our posture awareness and start to realize where our stress indicators are and how they've been sending us messages and whether we've been listening or not. And we have 2 assumptions that we have made. And so we want to bring those forward and just make them clear. And one is that trauma needs a road forward to release staying in time and space, or when people sometimes get pulled back. And so that's one assumption. And the second one is we want to be able to empower our inner child.
So, as we said, our assumptions are trauma needs the road forward to release staying in time and space or getting pulled back, and self-empowerment for the inner child resolves feeling powerless. So this is about moving from a place of the experience of trauma to post-traumatic growth. And Michelle, I'm not quite sure what palm to palm opening the joints is.
So what we're going to do is I'm just going to show you a little technique that we're going to use later, but it's a great way to relax the joints in the body. And a lot of times our tension, the tendons get so tight. And this comes from Tai Chi. And I know you're going to see a tiny little picture of me at the moment, but later we'll pull the PowerPoint down. But right now you're just going to put the palm towards the palm. And if you're sitting on a chair, then you can lean forward into your feet and you'll just let your hands push forward away from you. And then your hands are just going to release to come back and they can go down in your lap. When our hands are in this space and in front of the heart center, we have full capacity to go to the full length of our arms and our body. If we move it up a little bit or down a little bit, we can only go a certain amount. But it's in this heart space that we have this amazing capacity. So I wanted to bring that into awareness because as we look at trauma and post-traumatic growth, sometimes we hit those end points. And what we want to show you is if you're in the right spot doing the right things, you actually can bypass all of that. And so the assumption that you might have that's not ever going to change, that just might be because it hasn't been in the right place yet. And we just want to bring that forward. All right. So we're going to move to the next part, which is setting a goal today. And one of the key pieces about going anywhere is you need to at least have a roadmap and you need to have that GPS designated on where you want to end up. So if you have something in mind for today that you would like to shift, if you want to bring that intention in mind, or you have a specific goal. So one that I like to use, which makes things easy, is I say I easily and joyfully do something. So it could be for today, you might say I easily and joyfully move forward in life. And that's an intention of how you want to be living and how you want to be exploring. And another might be, this would be in a goal-oriented way, I inspire other people and create an open dialogue for others to gain support from me. And that would be taking your wisdom and experience and being able to put it into a capacity that you would be able to help others who might be going through that similar experience. So whatever your goal or intention is for today, if you just want to bring that to the forefront. And then what we're going to do is we're going to check in to see how much stress that has put on your body. There might have been some there before because we didn't check before the goal. But what we're going to do is check it with the goal online. And we're going to use the neurovascular holding points. And Mary Jo, with your knowledge from Touch for Health, this will be fun because this is a different way of thinking about using neurovasculars. So I'm just going to haul my cards up here. So while I'm talking, I get this right. And what you're going to do is if you stand up, I'm going to tell you a couple points to hold on the top of your head. And I know that you can see a tiny square of me, but you won't need that much of me. So if you're standing on your feet, you can feel how it feels to stand on your feet, and that is everything in balance. If your body starts to sway forward or backward or go around in a circle, that means something shifted in the energy. And so what we're looking at is when we touch a point on our head, it's going to be related to some system in our body. And if it's in balance, you're just going to hold where you are. And if it's not, you're going to kind of move around a little bit. All right? So the first point we're going to hold comes from the metal element, and it's at the top of the head, right on the anterior fontanelle, the soft spot on a baby's head. We're going to hold that spot, and it's very lightly, and then just check in with the feet to see if you hold or don't hold. And then just make note, if you do move, then you just know that's where there's some stress. Okay? And from there, we're going to go to the water element, and we're going to take the fingertips and we're going to put them on the back of the skull at the base. And holding there, check in and see. Then we go to the wood element. So we're going to take our fingertips and put them on our temples on the side and just hang out there. All right. So for me, that's where I'm starting to move around. I wasn't before. So I'll just be able to keep that in my mind. It was on green. And then we're going to go to the fire element. Fingertips are going to go at the back on the top of the head. And just hold there. All right, and the last one is earth element. This one is onto your cheekbones. Okay, so if there was something that wasn't quite in alignment, then you would have moved somewhere. And if you just want to jot that down, maybe if you wrote down your goal, or you've got a piece of paper beside you there, just to have it in place. All right, so from there, what we're going to do is we're going to walk ourselves through a couple of ways of knowing. And these are body awareness pieces that I like to use in my classes. And they're going to be ways that we could assess, and you see there CFA, the note of C, F, and A if you're looking at musical notes. If you know about chakras, it might be the root chakra, heart, and then the brow chakra or third eye. And I have different ways that we can check in with those systems to see how they're doing. So the first one is the root level, and we're going to use foot sensors. You can do it seated, but you'll get more awareness if you stand. So I know you just sat down, but I'll get you to stand back up again. And as you're standing on your feet, you've got 9 points that you could tune into. So you have the pads of each of the toes. So notice if you can truly feel your toes or if there's kind of awareness that they're there, but they're not really connected to the floor. And then just make a note of that. Then you have the big ball of the foot by the big toe joint and then the little toe joint. The weight should be flat across, but you might notice there's some pressure points where one part is pushing a little bit more into the floor than another. So just be aware of that. Then you've got the outside edge of the foot and your heel. And again, it'll just be pressure points things that are just pushing a little bit more than others. And you might also notice you might have more weight on one side than another. So if you do, just take a note of that. And if it's in the middle, that's great. And now from where you are, standing straight, you can feel that centeredness. We're going to go into the second part, which is going to be the note of F, heart chakra level. If we're talking about dantians from Chinese medicine, the lower dantian would have been the root level. Heart level, we'd be looking at middle dantian. We want to know if the goal that we just put forward has any stress in it that is related to yourself, or yourself to others, or others to self. And how we can figure that out is use our body as a pendulum. So as you're standing there, if it's all nice and even, if I say self to self, and you say holding, that's great. That means there's no stress with the goal to yourself. And if you start to wiggle around, then you know there is something that's stressful in there. The other one then is self to others. And I'm slowly moving on that one. Okay, so pay attention to that. And the other one is others to self. And sometimes challenges we have has nothing to do with us, has to do with other people around us. And that's nice to know that it's not our stuff, it's somebody else's. Okay, so you might have moved on that one. So that gives us a little bit of indication at heart level. And then if we go up to intuition, this one is going to be our posture. So if you're standing as you are now, and it feels like you're relatively straight, what I'd like you to do is just give a little pull on your ears. And as you pull on your ears, you may notice your posture rise and shift. And if it did, that's how stress has been affecting your body, even just when you thought you were okay. So for me, I thought I was straight. I pulled, my chest came up, my shoulders opened, and my head actually came up, so it's more on top of my shoulders than forward. So that might be what you experienced. And that means a change in breath. So those are the ways that we can assess how much stress is going on in those parts of the system. All right. So this time now I can invite you back to sit permanently. Okay. Does anybody have any questions to there? Everybody's good? Awesome. If we were doing Touch for Health, so one of the presentations that we'll be doing in a couple of weeks will be with people who do Touch for Health. Another way to assess would be more of a clinical setting where we could go into each of the muscles, check in with the organ systems, and we could work through them that way. But what I've just shown you is how you can do it for yourself and how you can empower yourself. All right. So if we go to this next slide, this is, Mary Jo, this will be a funny way to say it. This is the 300 pages of the dissertation put into 5 cards. So what was identified as being really key for being able to make really good shifts and permanent shifts was that you had some key pieces available when you were goal setting and setting intentions. So to our goal setting and intention, which we did already, awareness, which we just went through the body, and today, because we're doing Unwinding Trauma, we're focused on C, F, and A. The other is you need to have a community around you and some way to engage with someone else for a healing capacity. And that's how we start the whole healing process. And the last part is intuition. The more you use this formula, the stronger the intuition starts to get, and the information you start to receive back and become more aware of grows. So this little package here is already woven through what we're doing today, but I just wanted to identify it for you so you have it. Okay, so let's move to the next part, which is the key pieces that we're going to use in the exercises today. So we have another set of cards here. These ones are the census cards. And what I would like you to do, so we at the very beginning today, we all took a sip of tea or water. I think Mary Jo had peace in her mug. So taking a sip of tea, what I want you to do with it this time is take a smell and just take the moment. Because just by doing that, we bypass the limbic system and bypass patterning that we have, and we go just right into what is awareness. And that opens up potential. And that's that piece that allows us to move forward. So I'll just invite you to have another sip of tea. Because we can. That one, I could taste the ginger. All right. So we have different senses that we can engage. We're not going to do this at the moment, but I wanted to bring them forward for you. So we've got the sense of taste, which comes along with smell, and they actually identify taste as the same as smell. It's just a different form because of the way we get to eat and drink beverages. And we have what we hear, we have what we see, and we have what we touch. And we're going to do that through music and movement today. But I just wanted to bring awareness to this. And if we move forward to the next part, the It's in the Cards deck that is presented here is a deck that Tanya and I made with a coworker, colleague, Paula Noack-Droog, and we based it on the 5 elements from Chinese medicine. And so we have all these sets that we work with, which makes it really easy to share things. What you're seeing here is the neurovascular holding points that we used as an assessment tool, but you can also use it as a way to balance the body. So we're going to do a little bit more of that, but I just wanted to share it so you could see when I was referring to cards, that's what I was referring to. And again, we're working through the elements, so each point is related to different systems in the body. If we go to the next part, this will be the foot sensors. And the foot sensors come from the work of Frank Mahoney, which is hypertonics, as well as Svetlana Maskatova's work, neuroreflex integration, the way the foot sensors work. And I matched up foot patterns and movement ways. If you were to go into a clinical setting, they would manipulate your feet. But for me, it was how could I get you to be able to engage with it? So what we're going to be doing is actually moving our feet through these patterns, and they're going to be balancing the balance reflex, grounding, centering, stability, and gravity. So we're actually going to be rebooting the whole system. All right, so that's also just so you have an idea visually of what we're up to. And then the last set of cards that I want you to see brings in a piece that in the 5 elements, each element has different emotions that it's responsible for and it monitors. And what happens when we engage in our different activities is we move ourselves from some of those emotions that can hold us in fight or flight and move us forward into action and living. So in the case of water element, you can see there fire and anxiety, and it shifts over to confidence and peace. And so as we go through the exercises today, we're actually going to be transforming our emotions into these other pieces as we go along. And that means the muscles, the tendons, the ligaments are all going to be shifting as we release those emotions. And so we just want to be aware that as the body's shifting, we're just nice and gentle with everything, just letting us just be aware of that shifting that's happening. All right, so that's where we're heading. And to get started, Tanya's going to share some of her lovely work.
So you've set a goal for today. And what I want you to think about before we begin is there a guide that's coming forward to support you? Now, guides can come forward in many ways. They can be from the animal kingdom. There may be a pet that comes forward. They can be from the plant kingdom. There may be a flower this spring, like a daffodil or a tulip that's been speaking to you, or a herb like lemon balm or mint. You could have a guide within yourself. Maybe your inner child wants to come forward to play. or maybe you have a wise healer within you that wants to step forward and give you wisdom. You might have a edgy adolescent that's coming forward as a guide so that you can get more comfortable with the truth that you hold. We can also have guides from our history. We can have ancestors like grandmothers, grandfathers, aunts come forward. They can be important guides, and they can be with us in this world or have already passed to the next world. And so I just invite you, it could be an angel. I invite you to just think about if there's a guide that wants to come forward for you with this work today. My father passed 7 years ago on the 4th. So he's come forward a lot this week. He's been in my dreams, and he's been near me as I'm healing. And his mother's birthday was the day before he died, and she would have been 110 on the 3rd. And so she's coming forward, and Dad never comes forward without Mom because she wouldn't miss anything. So they're present with me today, as well as the tulips that are bursting forth in my garden. So I just invite you to take a moment to see who's there to lead and support you with their presence, and to just accept their wisdom and their guidance for you. And so, as well as guides, we've set our intention, we have support in our lives, we have the connection and the intuition. So all that's interrelated, and I just want to say that there's a very subtle energy to unwinding trauma. And what I mean by that is sometimes it's just a little whisper we hear, or a little nudge to go outside, and we go outside and the sky has a rainbow, or the sky has a dark cloud, or we have a nudge to call someone, or we hear a conversation that connects to our history, or we're on YouTube and all of a sudden a video shows up that really connects for us. So I just am reminded that this formula of paying attention to guides, setting our intention, experiencing support, connection, and trusting our intuition. I think that the intuition piece, just a reminder that it can be subtle. It can be little whispers. And I find what happens with intuition is if we don't listen to the whispers, they get louder. One day I was thinking about something in my life and wondering if I was on the right path. And I went for a walk, and I found 25 feathers that day. And I walked this neighborhood block many times, and that was the only day that I found that many feathers. And I took it as a sign that clearly the ancestors and the guides were very supportive of the next step that I was thinking of taking. And if you look at this photo I created, I often think of orbs of light as guides, and I shared them in the last workshop. After my son's father died about 10 to 12 years ago, I had a dream. And in that dream, I went to this painter's house, and I said to the painter, I have something to sell you. And he said, I don't want to buy anything, but why don't you come and see the paintings I'm doing today? So I went to this path in the woods, and in this path in the woods, there were 2 canvases. And the painter showed me the first canvas, and it was this basket of beautiful teal eggs or orbs, like round, like in this photo. And I said, what is that? And he said, that is the basket of hope. And then there was another canvas, and that canvas was a similar basket, but there were orbs of many different colors: yellow, green, blue, purple, red, orange. And I said, what is that? And he said, that's the basket of everything. He said, which basket do you choose? And I said, I choose the basket of everything. And the dream ended. And I say that to you because I think we often talk about having hope from trauma. But trauma, as challenging and difficult as it is, brings many forms of medicine and many gifts. And today I just invite you to be open to the basket of everything.
So what we're going to do now is we're going to lead you from the note of C all the way up to the note of A. We're going to do some exercises, and Colin is going to join us by playing some intuitive music for us that's just for us today. And we're also going to bring in different tea blends that come along with us. And so I'll mention what they are. I've made each one today. I have 6 teacups sitting here, but just being able to connect in with the herbs from them, and Tanya will share more about them. Do you want to start with the intentions for this one, Tanya?
So the photo, when I look at this, personally I see angel wings, but you may see something different. And this, the note of C, the herb that comes forward is the herb of ginger, and for strength and power for change. The affirmation, position yourself into the true power of being. Find your roots and let them expand beneath you. Feel the strength, nourishment, circulation, and empowerment of connection.
So what we're going to do here, and I think we're okay to leave the PowerPoint up so you can see the artwork. I'm going to lead you through the foot sensors, which you saw pictures of. I'm going to describe which way you're going to move, and you can stay seated or you can stand. And while we're doing the foot sensors, I'm actually going to be holding different points. So I will tell you which points. And Colin is going to play music through that whole experience. Just nice deep breaths and just relax and just let your feet flow back and forth through the movements. Okay? So, as I step back, finding your feet, we're going to start with, hold on, we don't want to start with the metal element, we want to start with water. All right, so this one you're going to go side to side on your feet, just rolling back and forth, and you're going to put your fingertips at the base of the back of the skull, and just holding lightly. Now you're going to roll in and roll out, in and out, fingertips on your temple. Hands to the back of the skull at the top. We're going to rise up on the toe and flat. If you're seated, just lift your heel and then lower. fingertips to your cheekbones. And we're going to roll around our foot like a clock. Into the toes, to the side, to the back, to the side. You're seated, roll around the sit bones and back to the tailbone. Fingertips into the top at the front. You're going to rock back and forth on your foot. Up to the toe, back to the heel, pick up your toe. Forward and back. I'll just do one foot, then we'll change feet in a minute. And the other foot, rocking forward and back on that foot. And if you just go back to rolling side to side, just notice if that feels a little bit different. And just come back and settle into your feet. And if you give a little tug on your ears, see if that posture is more straight than when we started the first time. Thank you, Colin. All right. Is everyone all right? Awesome. Good. All right. I'm hoping when you went back to that last time rocking side to side, what I find for me is the hips went out before on the first round, but on the second round, when I come back around, I just feel like I have so much more control. So if I happen to be on a cruise ship, I wouldn't be falling over. I'd actually be going with it. So, all right. So if everybody's good, let's continue forward. What we're going to do is we're going to do a connector between that root chakra and to the heart chakra. We're going to come through the center. And I know that there are two chakras in there, but when we were looking at unwinding trauma, we discovered that it's the connection between the root and the heart that needed to be brought forward. And so we're pulling up into that. So I'm going to invite you, if you've got some tea beside you, to have another sip so you're staying hydrated. I'm going to bring in the Bredor Sunset, and I'll let Tanya share what it means.
And so the herb that comes forward for this card, and this card is actually a mirrored peony from my garden. The herb is holy basil for peace, prosperity, and grace. As you transition from your earthly connection, you find your inner power, your flame of possibility. As the flame becomes empowered, your true self can shine through, bringing trauma wisdom forward to guide. You realize the gifts entrusted to you and realize the light that can shine from your being as you step forward to be a light for others. Thank you.
Awesome. Can we turn the PowerPoint off for this one? Because I think it'll be easier to see more of me. Thank you. All right. And then I know, so this one, is everybody okay size-wise? If I'm sitting back, is that a big enough picture for everybody? Okay. So I won't pinpoint it. So what we're going to do is hands paddling. This is an exercise that comes from Tai Chi. So you're going to be sitting forward on your seat. So you're not leaning back into the chair. And then you've got your feet, so they're shoulder width apart. The ankles are right underneath your knees. And the hand is going to go out with the fingertips up. And then it's going to turn and it's going to scoop in. And the other one's just going to go opposite. And we're going to end up making a circle. And it's just nice and easy. Here we go. And now go a little bit smaller. Just relax and let the fingers go into the lap. That's vibrating right up to the top of my head. Thank you, Colin. And Colin has a new chin rest on there. Did you notice anything different, Colin, while you were playing?
Yes, I did. It's almost like trying to find a new equilibrium. Like, and I'm so used to playing in a certain way or producing a sound in a certain way. It's now experimenting, building on what I know to just bring things together. And I also had the Bori haired, and it's just so interesting to think that I covered everything with rosin, and yet there's all these different louds and softs coming in. It's a new playing field.
as you were doing it that time, it was tighter the first time you played, but the second time, your head started to move and your shoulders went with it. So there was more freedom that came in. That's why I asked that question. Because I could just see how your body was moving into it. And it was just so lovely because we know what we're doing with our hands, but for you to be able to see that coming through your body is so cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you for the feedback. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Tanya, can you bring that PowerPoint back up? So we have from our CF connector, we're moving into trust and transformation. So if anybody's familiar with the work of David Hawkins and Power and Force, one of the key things that transitions you from those lower frequency emotions, anger, resentment, panic, those kinds of things, you need a level of trust that things can be different and that you can transform. And when you hit that level of trust, then anything is possible up the other side of that. And so the picture that you're seeing there that Tanya created is one of allowing us, we've come from the root chakra, we're moving into the heart space, but we need to be able to trust that we can transform and that that transformation is going to be able to sustain us. So I'll just let Tanya share more about the card that you see.
When I created this photo, I was really focused on the subtle energies of healing. And that's why there's a lot of white space in the photo. And there's what looks like to me a heart in the middle, another heart, and kind of almost like the circular, like when we spread our arms and then spread them again, that whole opening and expanding to trust and change. The herb that goes with this card is echinacea for awakening consciousness. Knowing and realizing how easy it is to be pulled down or held back, you cut the cords that bind you to the expectations of others. You free yourself and realize the true power of yourself as a whole. The arduous work and toil is behind you, with no expectations left for you to fulfill.
So there's two parts we want to share here. One is the capacity of the breath, and the second is we're going to do step up to raise hands, white stork spreads his wings, and then a brush knee left, which is a specific pattern from Tai Chi. But the key piece of it is about releasing the tension in the diaphragm so that the diaphragm can actually move and fluctuate, and it affects all the way down to the pelvis and all the way up to the end of the pinky finger. So if we're not breathing deeply and we have some stickiness going on or some shallowness, we will have some problems with the trust and transformation piece because we're not going to be able to fully commit. And so that deep breath is that opportunity of commitment. So I'm going to share it two ways with you. So one is if you take a deep breath in at the moment, see what it feels like to do that. Okay. And then what I'd like you to do is tap your hand from your shoulder all the way down to your palm. And it's be firm taps, and we're going to go 3 times down. And then we'll do it on the other side as well. All right, now take a deep breath in. Did the space around the breath change? All right. So you may have felt there was enough lung space to take in all the oxygen that was available. That's how I kind of feel about it. You may have noticed that the diaphragm dropped a little bit further, so you had more space to do that breath with. And you may have noticed that you actually slowed the breath down. and it took longer for the air to go in, but it filled up, and then you could let it go. And we did all that by tapping the energy line for the lung. That's it. It's a great way when you're thinking about moving forward, making a change, to be able to develop the trust and transformation is to really lock into what the breath is doing and be able to bring it in. So Tanya, if you're okay to turn the PowerPoint off, I'm going to do the white stork spreads wings. And this one is, they call it connecting heaven and earth. So as we're trying to make that transition from the root chakra to the crown, or to the brow chakra, we're actually going to be connecting root to crown here. And it creates that opportunity of, again, pulling us up, but pulling us forward. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is open the hands, like you're filling up a bellows of an accordion. And then your right hand is going to come a little bit higher than the left. And the left hand is going to come into your forearm. And when you do that, you'll notice that your tailbone is going to just make the tiniest little transition to roll towards the floor. So it's just going to turn and line up. So now your spine is going to be straight. And that's where you position your elbows. That's the important piece. Then your right hand comes down to the lower dantian, below the belly. So we're filling up energy. And we're just going to expand our hands out in front. Take your right hand to the floor, so the palm goes down, and you're going to sweep it up while the other hand goes to the bottom. And there's the white stork spreading his wings. So we've connected heaven and earth. We're going to turn a light bulb at the top. That hand comes down. The other hand is just going to come out to the front. And this last piece, the elbows come together, and the right hand goes out and the left hand goes to the floor. I'll turn sideways. So I know if you haven't done it before, it's like, which hand is doing what? Well, I'm looking at this reflection. Okay, so I'll do that one more time, and then you can watch me as Colin plays the music, but I'll just explain it one more time, so then I can be quiet after that. So you have expand the bellows, right hand goes higher than the left, right hand is going to come down to the belly, and then you're just going to fall forward into your feet. Put your right hand to the floor. The left hand is going to go to the floor. And you're going to turn the light bulb at the top. And you're going to reach back for a pizza. Put the pizza in your hand and bring it forward. It's going to come out. Right. Okay. Tapping down the arm was easier. Okay, so here we go. Expand. Right hand. I'll just repeat. Once more. And then just rest your hands in your lap. Awesome. Some good yawns. That's great. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Everybody's all right? Okay.
Michelle, we're at the top of the hour. Did you want a 5-minute break or do you want to keep going?
How's everybody feeling? Do we need a break? Everybody's okay?
Oh, good.
Okay.
I just wanted to check in. I like to check in with the group.
Yep.
I'll
Perfect.
show PowerPoint again.
So we're going to the note of F, and we're going to our heart center. And our T for this one is Highland Splendor. Just bring that around, and I'll let Tanya share that.
For me, this photo is about being rooted in our heart. That's what I felt when I created it. It doesn't mean that it's what you see. That means that's what I feel when I look upon the photo I created. The herb for this one is stinging nettle. Align your truth. The truth in your heart is set free. You are inspired to swirl the truth of your life around you like a cocoon of love and passion. There is no longer a separation between you and experience. It is a complete compass. Thank you.
I just had the sip of the tea, and I wish all of you could be tasting each of the blends as we're going along. But Colin, this one has a little bit, you've got Queen Mary there today, which is the creamed Earl Grey. And this has Earl Grey in it. And it's, you have these, you taste the herbs first, and then it finishes with the Earl Grey, which is just such an interesting flavor. Anyway, I just started to chuckle because it was just so beautiful. So I'm going to do it one more time because it was so much fun. Okay, I love tea. All right, so this one, we're probably going to need the PowerPoint off. I've actually gotten out a ruler, a Tai Chi ruler. So it looks like this. You're just going to pretend with your hands, but this helps you to know what I'm doing with my hands, so that's why I've put it in. And it easily could be a wooden spoon from the kitchen, but for right now, just your hands is going to be fine. And this one is going to allow us to move through the dimensions. So yes, we can do front, middle, and back dimension, but we can also do space and time with this one. And so what I invite you to do is put your right hand on top and your left hand on the bottom. So it'll be the same position I've got. And then what you're going to do is go to your left side like you're paddling in a canoe. And then you're going to turn the paddle over and bring it back so it comes out. So the left hand's now on the top, and you're going to go to your right side and paddle on that side, and then come forward. All right, I think we're good, Colin. Here we go. Beautiful. Nice. Michelle, I was picturing you out on the lake. I know you're not there now, but summertime. Yeah, exactly. Awesome. Okay. So that gives us our note of F. So now we're going to move from the heart chakra. We're going to come through the connector, moving us towards the third eye. So as Tanya's turning that on, this one is Salty Harbor. This one has rosemary and, it starts with an S. We talked about it this morning, Tanya. What was in your garden that lasted all the way through the winter?
Sorrel? Sage.
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 Thank you. Thank you. There we go. Rosemary and sage, which is really interesting in a tea blend, but it picks up, it puts layers into it. So I'm just going to grab that one.
Would you like me to share?
Yeah, that's great.
In this photo, I'm always drawn to the blues and the purples. That's what draws me in the circle. And I'm not too sure if it's like a teardrop or, how in your bathroom when it's steamy and then there's a line of water that drips down. I always see this as a bit of a line of something dripping down as things kind of soften and equilibrate. The herb for this card is anise for awakening dreams. Your heart wakes to the realization of civilization's needs as well as the universe's needs. Your acceptance of love and connection is without strings or apprehensions. The universal language of love lifts you and holds you. Inspiration is all that can manifest from this position.
So with this one, what we're going to do, I think we should be okay to leave the PowerPoint because this one's an easier move. Not so many moving parts to it, and we'll do just a couple of times. This one, you're going to just make an arrow with your hands. So it's going to look like that. And we're going to go down, and then we're going to turn it and scoop it up. And once it's up, we're going to open the hands and then just settle them back down. And then that part I showed you at the beginning where you put the palm to palm, we're going to actually do that expansion out right from the heart center. So we connect to heaven and earth, and then we come back from that heart center and open all possibility. It's a great way to just bring all the joints open and to change the frequency that's running through them. All right, I'll be quiet and let Colin do his magic. Here we go. Once more. And rest in your lap. if you just do a little tug on your ears where you're sitting, you may notice that when you go to do that tug, nothing has to move anymore in your posture, or the tiniest little bit has to move. We've actually taken the stress level off and everything has started to really lift. So I'm hoping everybody felt that they were perfectly aligned there. So awesome. All right. So we're at the note of A. This is our place where we're going to come from gratitude, which is one of the highest emotions that we can have after that trust. So there we go. So one back. There we go. Okay. The T for this one is mental clarity. And so with this one, if you want to have a sip of whatever you have there, and then Tanya's going to share what this means here. So
I'm sorry, I can't get the PowerPoint to
go
cooperate.
back.
Sorry.
That's okay.
So for the note of A, the photo I feel is like a guide or an angel. The herb is peppermint for clarity and vision. The flame of passion, love, and joy, acceptance, security, enlightenment, achievement, and compassion are one with you now. The days of old become faded memories as you realize and accept your true potential from Source. You freely walk, leaving the shadows of doubt behind.
And what I'm going to do, since the PowerPoint is stuck, I just want you to be able to get the colors to be able to see. So they've got the white light up at the top. You've got kind of a blue in the center, purple. Yeah. So you just have a chance to connect in with that piece of art. And all that we're going to do with this one is a bow. And you can do it seated if you want or standing. The ladies grab onto the left thumb and wrap their right hand around. Gentlemen would grab the opposite way. And when you bring your fingers together, it ends up making a yin-yang symbol there. And you can stay seated if you wish. I'm just going to stand up so you can see me. The hands come together. We come up to the brow. It's a forward motion, swinging forward. And then you can come back the way you came, or you can pull up the center and then let the hands go. So we can go either way. So I'm going to pull up the center today. All right. And Colin, I'll do 3 bows. Typically we do 1, but I'll do 3. And in our minds, we just want to have gratitude for all that we are able to learn from our experience and how we're going to be able to take that knowledge and really move it forward for its usefulness and for its higher purpose. So here we go. Let the hands just settle out of it. And we'll do it again. And one more. And just connect the hands and the feet. Perfect. Awesome. All right. So that's going to bring us to the piece of art that Tanya created for completion. And this one is going to change my tea. Go for it, Tanya.
This piece to me reminds me as a child when you would see the colors of the rainbow everywhere. And to me, almost every color of the rainbow is in this, but it's like a circle and a swirl, and it reminds me of the days you would color and just create art. for just the love of creating art. Just create art all around you. And it didn't necessarily mean pencil and paper. You might create it with leaves or, flowers you found in the meadow. So the herb for this is turmeric, empowering the auric field. Where you have been pulled apart, you are now one. The duality of your soul has been brought into alignment with reflection, activation, and wisdom. Hold on to the power that is now you and go forward with the strength and resiliency that is your birthright.
So what we're going to do here is we're going to start with just free movement. And this is a nice safe space, so you can move around however you like. Michelle, you might have to get your mom dancing there in the kitchen with you. Make sure that you did have a little sip of something so we can really flush the system through. Important at a time of completion is rest, because the longer you take to let everything integrate and stay at that higher frequency, the more value you're going to have out of it, because the body will be able to do its adjustments and stay there. So I'll just give you that idea. And as we're doing this free movement dance, I will move it into a jig step. So I'm going to take it into a little bit of step dancing and shuffle the feet on the floor. And I'll move the camera down so you can watch my feet. Very simple steps. But I'd also like you to think about how you could gift your inner child. So if you could offer your inner child something that would say, I truly value you, I so appreciate where you've gotten me, and I'm so excited of where we're going next. Whatever that gift is going to represent, you can make it in a particular color, you can offer it to yourself, you can wrap it up, however you want to do that, but I'm just going to let you envision what that is and have a little bit of chance to dance with your inner child. And we'll see what comes out of Colin's fiddle to do this, and then we'll go down into a jig at some point, just in case he's doing other things before he gets to the jig. And I'm just going to move the camera down. And Tanya, if you don't mind taking the PowerPoint off there. And maybe what I'll do here is I will put the spotlight on, just so you'll be able to see my feet when I get there. So free movement with no head, and then my feet will break out after that. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Everybody's okay with the jig step? Perfect. So when you come to Cape Breton, you'll fit right in. That'll be awesome. Okay, so let's move there from the completion part. If we were doing Touch for Health, or we were in a clinical setting, we could go back and we could make assessments that another person would do on us. But because we're doing all of our own empowerment, we're going to go back, look at our goal, and then we're going to go back to those neurovascular holding points and see if there's any stress left over. So you could do this seated if you want, or you can stand to use the pendulum. And if you hold on to, we started, sorry, with metal element last time. So if you put your fingertips into the top of the head and just standing, see if you settle down into your feet or if there's any movement at all. And you have that goal in mind that you started with. All right. Then we're going to go to back of the head at the base of the skull. It's always so nice when it's just like calm. Okay, you're going to go into your temples. Hold there. Then we're going to go to at the back of the head at the top. And the last one, cheekbone. All right. Was everybody balanced there? They held steady? That was okay. Michelle, for you, that was okay? Ruth? Awesome. Good, good, good. Okay, so now what we want to know is how do our feet feel? So if you check in with those foot sensors where you might not have been feeling all the pads of the toes the first time, can you feel the pads of the toes now connecting to the floor? And if you had any pressure points that were showing more awareness than others, has that now evened out? And usually it's kind of like you feel it's flat across the ball of the foot. So is everybody okay that way? Awesome. Mary Jo, you all right? Okay, perfect. So now if we say, and I'm just using that body pendulum, if we say self to self, see if that holds. Self to others, see if that holds. Others back to self. As I said, others to self, my quad muscles went, I don't need to hold on anymore, and they just let go. That felt really nice. And the last is to go back to those ears, lifting up, and hopefully you're noticing that that posture is exactly where it should be now, instead of holding in some stress. Is that okay for everyone? Sweet. Okay, so those are our ways of knowing and our assessment. So we want to go to the next picture, which is wholeness. And I'm just grabbing Island Vitality Tea. For those that want to make iced tea, I'm going to just say this one so far I think is probably one of the top for iced tea, as well as for switchel, for those of you that like to make switchel. Go ahead, Tanya.
Wholeness embraces you and invites new visions forward. You can read all the text that is yours in your book of life. You are wizened and aligned. So I thought what we would do now is just take a moment and put our hands up and connect with each other here online. Yeah. And just take a moment and give gratitude for our presence here today. Give gratitude for each other. And to be empowered in what you've learned today about yourself and here in this community together. And offer that to whoever comes to watch the recording. And then just take a moment and give yourself a hug if you feel comfortable doing that.
Awesome. And we did a photo at the beginning, so if everybody's okay, I know, Michelle, you missed that one. This is for just us to notice, what did we look like before we started? And what do we look like now? So, awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Okay. One more slide, one more picture.
I have to say, I kind of love this photo. I just feel it's just like, I did it. And I think a lot of times in our culture, in our lives, we don't take those moments to celebrate. I supervise counseling candidates, and they'll come to me and, oh, this happened and this happened and this stress happened. And I'll be like, well, you managed that really well. Did you celebrate that you managed that well? No. But you could take a moment and celebrate that you did that well. And how would you celebrate? I don't know how I celebrate. And so the words that go with this card is, you are held, you are loved. This is your time. This is your now. You hold your own love in the palm of your hand and you can rejoice. So if you have any insight today that you'd like to share in the chat, I welcome you to do that. The big insight for me was that when Colin was playing, I kept getting these memories from childhood. Just like a picture show of connection with family, friends, and nature, which was totally unexpected. I wasn't prepared for that. But it was lovely to spend time in those memories while Colin played, and we moved. You don't have to put in the chat if you would like to share anything from today, or you have any questions.
Thank you, Tanya. I had a difference of perspective, and I was looking back. You know, when you're sort of in a sea of fog, for example, and you think, you know, you're just in the midst, you're in the detail of things, and I wasn't sure if I was actually playing the right notes. In fact, I was. I just looked at things from a different perspective, and it was to do with around the F. The top F, first finger on the E string, is like an F. I think it's an F natural that I'd normally do, and then the note above that, or is like a G natural, but you can always do like an F sharp or something like that, or an F double sharp. But you can there's a difference between looking at something. I can look at something linearly, or I can just take that overview, you know, just go slightly above. It's almost like going to your future self and actually looking back at what you're doing. Just a different perspective to help you get forward. What does the other side look like when you move somewhere?
In therapy, Colin, I do an exercise with clients, especially if they're experiencing deep grief, where I tell them to imagine they're on the roof looking down at themselves, and then they're in a helicopter, and then they're in the clouds in the sky, and then they're in the stars, and ask them what they notice at each stage, and then come back to the stars and the clouds and the helicopter and the top of the roof. But that's the point of the exercise, is to help them come out of themselves and look down upon the emotions and experiences they're noticing. And I find it's what you're saying. It brings in clarity and support, right? Is that kind of?
Yes.
What Colin said reminded me of throughout the exercises. I have always been a person when you're supposed to follow directions. It's like, what? What are they doing now? Am I doing it right? And I jump all over the place because it's hard for me to follow someone else's directions, period. And so when, like, am I hitting the right note? Am I doing the right movement? And when I was able to let go of that and just be in the flow, following the flow, then it worked better. And I was aware during this whole exercise today that I didn't worry as much about that like I used to. So I say, I'm making progress. And then when Michelle came up with what is your statement, and when Tanya said, pick what you want to achieve. I think that's who said what. And at the end, I came up with, well, first, what I wanted to do is help with the rest of what I have to do today, because I got a humongous amount to do. So that's what I would say. I want to help with it. And at the end of the session, and Tanya said, okay, you're going to come up with something that could be a variety of things. I came up with a poem. And my poem was, all is well, all is good, all are connected through love and expression. And I noticed through the whole piece what was I guess the easiest for me was the free flow, which is I could do what I needed in the moment. And I'm aware of different painful places in me, different body parts physically. And I thought, oh, well, if I was in a therapist's office, I would say, can you now poke here because my arm hurts here? I identified this pain or whatever to kind of take it to the next step. And I noticed as I've been going to bed and I lay on one side and one arm hurts in one way in one place and the other arm hurts in a different place, I say, that is where I need to do more work. I go, okay, I'm going to sleep now. But when, during the day when I'm working, what I find happens most to help is the movement. And notice the color. Like we have a lot of flowers in bloom outside now. So I go and look at the plants and connect with them and touch with them and move, where when I'm sitting at the desk, I'm, typing and so focused. So the movement, the creative expression, the connecting with nature, or doing the laundry or doing the dishes, which are things that have to be done. And I like the way it looks when the dishes are done, those kind of things. That then I can take that in. That's the love expression where I can say, you did a good job, Mary Jo. You got that table cleaned well. Where if I'm struggling with a school problem or something, say, oh, I haven't figured out how to do that yet. So that's why I go, oh, I can wash the dishes and look at how good the kitchen looks now for supper tonight. Anyway, that's a lot of my takeaways. And then one other thing I want to mention is as I mentioned, I go take care of a senior usually daily at a retirement center, quote unquote. And we do drumming sessions, breathing sessions, and a number of different things. And that's one of the reasons why I was also sitting in the chair, because most of them are either in wheelchairs or have carts that need to be pushed. So I wanted to say, how would I present this information to them? So that's kind of what I started thinking. What would help those who can't move well? And the reason why I can't move well, I have too many things around me. I can barely even stand up. with all this stuff. I'll show you in a minute. But the thing is, it's like when you're looking at your audience, who you're trying to reach, what will be most helpful to them, you see? And sometimes if you take a smaller segment, like the seniors I work with can only take so much at a point in time for a whole lot of reasons, because you really want them to have a takeaway, something they can do to help what their problem is. Like I said, I have a problem here, and so, but these are all great things to offer people in many different situations. Like if you were working with little kids, how this would look different and come across different. They'd be, and moving around like this. Or if you were working with children with learning disabilities and different kind of issues, because I have a grandson with autism, and how, you would communicate with them. And so it's like, so thank you. Thank you for encouraging me to experience this to help me with where I am now. I thank you, Michelle. And this is great.
Awesome.
Thank you, Mary Jo, and thank you, Michelle, for what you shared in the chat. Just love to you on your stressful, busy week, and I wish you a restful, calm rest of the day and weekend. And I just want to check in, Ruth, if there's anything you wanted to share.
I noted that it was when we got to this card, the stinging nettle, the note of F, when the words really started to mean more than the first few cards. Like that's when I really connected to what the words were saying. And Colin, your fiddling was divine. But I noticed when we did the FA connector, it sounds like you were playing two fiddles. Whatever you were doing there, it sounded like you had accompaniment. So I don't know where that was coming from. And Michelle, the exercises that you, the foot sensors and all the other things are just perfect for the whole process. Like when we did this first part with the hands paddling, all of a sudden I had a big sigh. It was just like, okay. So that every exercise that you brought forward was just perfect. The weight stroke I always love, as you know, and it really, really is my breath move. It's this that brings my breath into perfect alignment. And the ruler, that really worked as well. I was writing down stuff here. I'm trying to read it now. Tanya, your pictures are amazing, but your words that accompany them and the way you express yourself.
I can't take credit for the words. Those were Michelle.
I know, but still, the way you express yourself, it just brings tears to my eyes. Thank you. Especially your story about the two baskets. I've heard it before.
I feel like it has to go in a book.
Yeah.
That's because it keeps coming up. I feel like I want to do this book on gardening, growth, and grief. Because I feel that the garden is a place where there's constant growth and there's constant grief, right?
Yeah.
Because things are constantly growing and things are constantly dying. Like that's just how the garden works. And I think it's a beautiful metaphor for grief. So thank you.
And Mary Jo, now that I see what's behind you, wouldn't I love to get in there and start looking? Right through everything.
I can hardly even get out of my chair. I have to turn it and I got such a little spot to get up and get out.
Anyway, that's all.
Thank you for all your feedback. I'm wondering if we could put the PowerPoint up for a moment, just so anybody who's watching the recording can see our resources. And also, The references are there for anybody that becomes important for. So we do have, for the card deck that was weaved all the way through, not the coasters, there's a link tree that you can get, it's in the cards. Tanya's at Heart Lady Inspiration, Colin's at Celtic Fiddle Guru, and hopefully by next week I will be at the Greenwell Center. Right now I'm at dancedebut.com. And we have harmony coasters, so Ruth, thank you for holding them up. So the coasters are what the art was represented on the different slides, and then they do all have the intentions on the back, plus the herbs. And then there's the 6 teas that are part of what they're called the harmony blends. So those are the pieces that are available. And if tea is of importance to people, that's at the Cape Breton, capebretontea. And that's not listed up there, so we'll need to fix that. And if we move forward one slide, this is just the resources, and that's in case anybody that becomes important for people, they'll know some of the places, they'll be able to find some of the information, or always they can reach out to any of us, depending on what it is they're looking for. Okay, so I'll finish that as the formal part. We can turn that off and we can keep talking with anything else that people noticed. So
Did you want to stop the recording, Michelle?
I can.